Everything from clothing to household items are getting more expensive each day. The world of fast fashion has complicated clothing production by shipping cheap parts around the world to whoever can sew them the cheapest. And now you, the consumer, are paying the price with rising costs. American Giant is about keeping things simple and close to home. They aren't affected by tariffs because their products never leave the U.S. Skip the tariff and snag yourself American-made clothing with American Giant. Get 20% off your first order when you use promo code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com. That's 20% off when you use code STAPLE20 at American-Giant.com.
95.3 WBCK now presents Coach's Corner, live from Lakeview Ford. For over 6 decades, this has been your number one source for all local sports information. Coach's Corner is proudly presented by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now, here's your host, Bill Broderick.
This is Bill Broderick, sports editor of the Battle Creek Enquirer, in the big chair once again on WBCK for another week of Coach's Corner from downtown Battle Creek at Lakeview Ford Lincoln on the Motor Mile. For more than 60 years, Coach's Corner has been talking to the city high school coaches about the week in sports, and we will continue to do that as we look ahead to the upcoming week of the high school football season with our first coach of the morning. But first, here's the Lakeview Ford Lincoln Coach's Corner scoreboard. A state-ranked team came into town to take on one of Battle Creek's bests in Week 5 on Friday night, with number 6 ranked Grand Rapids Kenowa Hills and Harbor Creek battling at Ed Greenman Athletic Complex. Harbor Creek used a big first half to roll to a 37-15 upset win. Elsewhere in the city, Battle Creek Central earned a big division win and beat Loy Norwich 26-18. Also in SMAC East Division play, Lakeview lost to Kalamazoo Central 33-20. Hastings beat Penfield in Interstate 8 conference play 55-24. And St. Phil lost to rival Climax Scott 66-0. Also on Friday, Coldwater beat Parma Western in a key I-8 game 28-21. And Marshall lost to Jackson Northwest 30-26. In other games, Union City beat Quincy 38-14. Bellevue defeated Athens 42-14. Mendon rolled past Colon 50-7. Maple Valley got its first win of the year and edged Hartford 13-6. Bronson beat Centerville 30-6. It was Lawton 62, Galesburg Augusta 24. Portage Northern shut out Gull Lake 48-0. It was Homer 14, Vandercook Lake 12. Olivet shut out Ionia 56-0. And Potterville beat Concha 43-0. We will be back with our first coach after this commercial. This is Coach's Corner on WBCK 95.3 FM.
Coach's Corner on 95.3 WBCK. Proudly brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Here's Coach's Corner.
This is Bill Broderick back here on Coach's Corner. We're here with our first coach of the morning, Robbie Hatton, the Penfield Panthers. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Bill.
We had Hastings and Penfield playing in a key Interstate 8 conference game. Hastings came out ahead 55-24. Hastings, the last few seasons, has proven to be one of the better teams in the I-8. Hastings improves to 4-1 overall with that win. Talk about what happened early in that game and how the tone was kind of set.
Yeah, absolutely. Got down 8-0, got a nice big stop. They ended up trying to kick field goal and missed, and then we were able to come back and score. And it was a really close game all the way through the first half. Second half, they took the opening kickoff for a touchdown, kind of set the tone for the second half, but we were able to battle back and score and keep it we were in a one-score game, and then late in the third, they put another one in, and then we couldn't answer after that. I'm really happy with our kids' efforts last night. We especially after the game with Harper Creek, where we maybe didn't play as well as we wanted to, playing a big physical team like Harper, and coming back playing Hastings with some renewed energy and a sense of optimism was good. We played well at times, had over 400 yards of offense, and So the offense was moving. We just got to figure out a way to stop the run, and we do that, and that might be a little bit of a different ball game.
Yeah, after getting shut out last week against Harbor Creek, it looked like your offense was on a little bit of a roll last night. Like you said, over 400 yards of offense, and the running game seemed to be producing pretty well. Isaiah Eakins-Gray had 206 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. He also had 55 yards receiving and a score. Your quarterback Calvin Pazins went 11 of 20 passing for 188 yards. Johnny Lake caught 5 passes for 93 yards. And Dre Bailey had 4 catches for 40 yards. Looked like the offense was working in terms of moving the ball a little bit. Talk about what did you see against Hastings' defense that made you think that you guys could have some confidence against them?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing we saw about Hastings is they don't really shift with strength or numbers. So we were able to motion our guys and shift around and get some numbers to the point where we were trying to attack. And we used the old school student body right, student body left mentality, and we threw a lot of people at the point of where we were trying to attack with our run game. And Isaiah Eakins-Gray did a great job of finding his holes and reading what the defense was going to give him. And, our offensive line played much better last night. We got much more physical. We're still trying to figure it out after a couple injuries. We're kind of still trying to piece some things together there. So, we just, we're really starting to try to figure it out.
The defense, like you said, has struggled a little bit the last couple of weeks. What was Hastings doing that gave you guys a little bit of trouble?
Yeah, Hastings still runs the old, the wing tee, straight tee, pound it down your throats. And, they were really physical at, down blocking. And, we weren't able to close those gaps down. We weren't very gap responsibility last night per se. And, we kind of figured going into these next 2 games, stopping the run is going to be tough. We just have to try to bend but don't break. And, we can't give up big plays. And that's one thing we've got to try to limit these next couple weeks.
You're at home again next week. Another team that's been on a little bit of a roll in the I-8. You're going to host Coldwater, and they give teams a little bit of trouble through the air and with the run. When you face a Coldwater team, what do you have to get done right away?
Yeah, we've got to set the tone immediately. We have to understand that this is probably going to be the best passing quarterback we'll see all year. The kid can sling it, and if we don't get pressure on him and we don't have great sound secondary coverage, he can pick us apart. I mean, he can pick apart just about anybody in this league. So, we really have to make sure we're setting the tone early, playing physical, establishing our run game. We've got to get a couple stops. If we want to get in a shootout with them, it's going to be tough. But we have to make sure we get a couple stops, control the game, ground and pound like we've been doing the last couple games with sustaining a couple of drives. And if we do that, I think that'll set the tone early.
Yeah, Coldwater features quarterback Drayson Foster, who broke out last year and set the school record at Coldwater for touchdowns in the season. He had 3 touchdowns again last night and threw for over 200 yards. And Coldwater, the way they spread you out and then take short passes and then do the run after the catch, that's what gives a lot of teams some trouble. Is that going to be your focus this week?
Yeah, you've got to make sure you can't miss after the first one. Their yak is impressive, and then they run a lot of jet sweeps and all that. They go a lot of empty set, and we just, like I said, we just have to make sure we are extremely disciplined. And we really have to make sure that our fundamentals are there. We can't let we can't let Foster go run wild either. He's a passing threat, but he's got some wheels on him too, and he can run the ball. So we just got to make sure we're fundamentally sound, make sure that our attention to details are there, and offensively we just got to play physical, and if, we got 4 games left, Bill, and we've been talking about this, if we can get to 4, I think we got a good shot at getting in, and these next 4 weeks, last night shows you that these next 4 weeks are up for anybody to take, and, our league, I think, is closer than ever. In terms of, competition-wise. Obviously right now Harper. And, everybody else has shown that, hey, these are going to be some close games to determine, who's kind of behind them at the moment. But like I said, we just have to make sure that we're taking it game by game. And, I think if we just keep getting better and improving, with our attention to details, we'll be all right.
Our Penfield will get another opportunity next week. They will host Coldwater in the Interstate 8 Conference game at Penfield on a Friday night. It'll be an exciting game. Looking forward to seeing what happens that night. Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Thanks, Bill. We'll
be back with our next Coach of the Morning after this break on WBCK 95.3 FM.
Coach's Corner on WBCK, brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now back to the show.
This is Bill Broderick, sports editor of the Battle Creek Enquirer, back here with our next Coach of the Morning, Coach Brett Verman, Lakeview Spartans. Good morning, Coach.
Morning.
Lakeview ran into another big and tough team from the SMAC East Division, Kalamazoo Central, last night, and Kalamazoo Central improves to 3-2 with a 33-20 win over Lakeview. You talked about getting off to good starts and then trying to maintain that momentum. You guys did get off to an okay start against Kalamazoo Central last night, but then couldn't hang on to that momentum. Talk about what happened there.
Yeah, I thought we played a pretty decent first quarter, but a lot like last week, our second quarters have been kind of our downfall. We struggled tackling last night a little bit there, and they did a great job being physical up front, shut down our running game a little bit. Once we made a little bit of adjustments to it, we actually started throwing the ball a little bit better. You take out second quarters for the last 2 weeks, we're 2-0, but that's you got to play 4 quarters, and we haven't done that, and we've really we've struggled in that second quarter.
Yeah, we'll ask the MHSA if we can take those second quarters out going forward and get his record a little bit better. But getting the passing game has been something that you wanted to get done. Getting that game, part of the game going for you, has been something you want to get done most of the year, and it's been hit and miss a little bit. But looks like you did do a little bit of business that way. Memphis Words had 2 touchdown catches. Deshaun Page had a touchdown catch. What did you see against Kalamazoo Central that you were able to get that going a little bit?
Well, as you said, we haven't been able to throw the football, and so our offense has been running the ball, and they've been just stacking the box and bringing pressure, and that leaves some people one-on-one, and we won some one-on-one things. They neglected to cover our tight end a couple times and hit Memphis Wirtz for some big plays. So we just kind of took advantage of that, and Caleb McCune did a good job of getting the ball to the wide receivers. They caught the ball and had some big plays off it.
Getting games, and like you said, one of those struggling in the second quarter and then coming out in the second half and being down there, and that can wear on a team. What's the message there for your guys to get going and making sure that these are 4-quarter games, and you guys can still win games in the second half?
I was extremely proud of our kids the way we came out at halftime. You're an 0-4 team, down big at down at halftime. Easy to quit at that point, and our kids didn't. Our kids came out and really battled that second half. And Bill, honestly, we had a chance to. We were really close to being down 1 score with about 8 minutes left in the game. We ended up just not converting a 4th and 1 down on the 15-yard line. We were moving the ball really well, and we had chances that we got the ball back a couple times late in the game. We could have been down 1 score going down to trying to tie it up or take a lead. And so these kids did a great job of continuing the battle. We shut them out the second half. We did a much better job, but defensively being in the right positions, alignment assignments. Again, we got to shore up some of our tackling issues, making sure that we're not giving them the second, third, fourth opportunity to get more yards when we're missing some tackles. So we've got to do that, but a much better job of alignment assignment stuff, getting our kids in the right position to make some plays. Now we gotta tackle some stuff.
And it looks like that second half you can use that a little bit as momentum, which you need. You're going into next week. You're going to host Loy Norix, and that's a game, if you're playing a little bit better, like you said, in the second half, and you can roll that into next week, and that's a team that's gettable for Lakeview Spartans if they come in with some confidence and play your game. Talk about what you want to do against Loy Norix to try to get that victory.
Sure. Everything starts, again, up front. Kalamazoo Central did a great job. I thought they were extremely physical up front, and we were catching a little bit on the offensive line. But Austin Wildermuth did a great job of running the football last night. Really just getting yards on his own a lot, and I can't give him enough credit of the way he ran the football last night, and we expect him to run the football just like that next week. Isaiah Jackson was hurt. He wasn't in the game, so we didn't have him. He's a huge playmaker, obviously, for us. Look to have him back next week, which would help us out a ton, just having more speed on the field offensively, defensively, which would be huge. And then again, just finding ways to making sure that we're making those plays, those opportunities that are in front of us, that we make tackles when they're there. Loy Norris is a good team. They got athletes on the field. They got some big offensive linemen. And as I said with our kids all through the year, that we're kind of playing against ourselves, and we got to make sure that we eliminate our mistakes and we're executing, and we'll flip that score around and win a game.
Let's get a big crowd out there at Lakeview Friday night. Loy Norris comes to town. Lakeview has a chance to get that win that they've been looking for, and they've been playing well enough to get some of these wins and just coming up short. And we'll see if we can have a happy conversation next week, Coach.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back with our next Coach of the Morning after this on WBCK 95.3 FM.
In a galaxy. Here are 5 more good reasons for multi-sport participation. Multi-sport athletes are more coachable. They have higher athletic ceilings. They become better talent in the long run. They have higher sports IQs. Their sports skills transfer, and they are better teammates. Multi-sport participation is cross-training for life. Learn more at the MHSAA website. A message from the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics.
95.3 WBCK.
Coach's Corner on 95.3 WBCK. Proudly brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Here's Coach's Corner.
This is Bill Broderick, sports editor of the Battle Creek Enquirer, back here on Coach's Corner with our next Coach of the Morning, Coach Bennett of the St. Phil Fighting Tigers. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
We had St. Phil heading over to Climax Scots in a game that both programs get excited for every year, a rivalry game. And Climax Scots has had the high end of this rivalry in recent years, and they came away with a 66-0 victory over St. Phil. You guys both have young teams on the field.
Yeah, we struggled at the line of scrimmage. Just couldn't quite handle their strength and size, and obviously, Climax is so skilled with specifically their offensive scheme, and just had a hard time reading defensively. So they came out with 4 scores and 6 offensive plays, and so we knew it was going to be a long night. And offensively, we couldn't quite get first down conversions, and I think our inexperience and our size just really showed strong last night. Yeah, the Climax Scots runs that. They were on the wing tee offense that they've been running forever. They've made it kind of a hybrid for 8-man football, but they made it work in 8-man football. And if you're not in your gaps and you're not being sound defensively, they can make you look silly sometimes, and they do that often against a lot of teams. So when you get a game like that and your young squad is trying to stay in it, talk about how that can be deflating, and how you kind of have to work against making sure that doesn't define you. Yeah, our message last night to our players was just play with some heart, and the only thing really that we want to prove is prove something to yourself, prove something to our team last night, that we're going to finish strong, and whatever adversity comes our way, we're gonna take the challenge, accept it, and we have to take nights like last night and do a reflection about from a coaching staff, like how are we practicing? From a player, same question, how are we practicing? And we got to do a little bit better job at applying some fundamentals on game nights and playing with some of that same physicality that we're facing from other teams, and a little bit of a heart check. So it's never never easy to walk out of the locker room and get on the bus last night after a loss like that. So we're going to use this as a teaching opportunity again, try to get better for the remaining games here in the season.
Climax Scott's Elijah Boron had a kickoff return for a touchdown, and he also had an interception return for a touchdown to lead the Panthers. Mason Shannon caught 2 passes for 2 touchdowns for the Panthers, and quarterback Maddox Wyman had 2 touchdown passes. On your side, Brogan Lightfoot had another good game. He continues to be consistent for you, 42 yards rushing. He had 9 tackles on defense, and you guys have to kind of turn the page and get going forward, and you have a chance going on the road again, and you're going to play at Colon and other teams that has been scoring a lot of points, but ran into some trouble last night and got beat by Mendon. But Colon is an offensive team, and that's something you guys have to be aware of.
Yeah, I mean, on film, they're definitely looking like they've improved much from last season, and so this isn't going to be any easy game whatsoever. And especially with us, we've got a whole lot of injuries we're nursing. We're going to be out 2 players. Our quarterback is still struggling with an arm issue. Didn't even think we were going to have him this week. So, we've got to get ourselves healthy this week and really try to mend some of these wounds. So that we can be ready to play and have some type of numbers to go up against Colon.
Well, St. Phil will get their players and head down to Colon and see what happens with that game in 8-player football as Colon and St. Phil go into week 6. Thanks a lot, Coach, for coming in this morning.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll be back with our next Coach of the Morning here on WBCK 95.3 FM after this.
Coach's Corner on WBCK, brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Now back to the show.
This is Bill Broderick, sports editor of the Battle Creek Enquirer, back here with our next Coach of the Morning, Coach Lauren Granger of the Battle Creek Central Bearcats. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
We have Battle Creek Central getting a big win in division play last night. Battle Creek Central won 26 over Loynorks, 26-18. And we'll talk a little bit more on what that means. But getting a big victory over Loynorks is huge. And the way it happened was got All right, we have some technical difficulties. We're back here with Lauren Granger, Battle Creek Central coach. He had a 26-18 win over Loynorks. A tale of 2 halves there. You trailed 18-6 at halftime, didn't play well, but turned that around in the second half and rallied and tied the game and then won the game late. Talk about the difference of the 2 halves there.
Yeah, we did not play very well in the first half. It was kind of almost felt like a continuation of the week before where we gave up so many points. It was just we had a lack of energy, lack of physicality. We just did not seem like we were ready to play. Gave up 18 points, and Loynorks was, pretty much just kind of doing what they wanted to offensively. We moved the ball a little bit offensively, too. In fact, we moved it a lot offensively in the first half, but, mental miscues caused a couple of turnovers, and obviously only scored 6 points, so we just weren't able to convert. But the big thing was, we just weren't playing with much energy. And they were very confident. They had a lot of energy, and they were just taking it to us in the first half. And so, I'd love to say we went into the locker room at halftime and made a bunch of really special coaching adjustments. But we really didn't change a thing. It was just a matter of responding to what's happening to you. And one thing about our kids is that they have a lot of things that happen to them that they have to respond to in life. And football is a great game because it gives you an opportunity to train your mind for how you're going to react when things bad are happening. And so we challenged them at halftime to just respond. Like, how are you going to respond when you're down and somebody's punching you in the gut, And so they came out with a different level of energy in the second half, and that's really the difference in the game.
In the second half, you came out and Mubarak Jabril had 2 touchdowns in the second half, and he finished with 160 yards rushing. And you came all the way back, and you tied the game 18-18. And then your quarterback Randall Gray scored on a keeper from 3 yards out for the winning touchdown with 1:21 left. Rally completed, and victory gained there in the last couple of minutes. That had to be an emotional roller coaster and also just an uplifting situation there for the whole team.
Yeah, you mentioned Mubarak, and one small adjustment, I guess you could consider it big, I guess, that we did make at halftime was we brought Greg Williams into quarterback, really just for a series, but just to try to give us a little bit of a spark. And he provided that. You know, he really didn't run the ball during that series, but just a different style of play, you know, that comes to the table when he's back there at quarterback. And so, but he handed the ball off to Mubarak a few times, and Mubarak just ran really hard, and he just ran with an attitude that he didn't have in the first half, and Loy Norris didn't really want to get in his way. So he was able to get a couple of big runs there, and in that first touchdown that he scored kind of changed the momentum of the game. And, you know, he's one of those kids, he's just a sophomore and really hasn't been in those pressure situations before, but he's one of those kids that really responded at halftime and said, all right, I'm going to step up and start making plays. And so that was the spark we needed, and really there were some other kids that just kind of rallied behind that. And, you know, we end up putting RJ back into the game at quarterback. He's the senior, and he's the level-headed kid that, you know, is dependable at that spot for the most part. And he led the offense the rest of the second half and did a really good job.
You needed guys to step up a little bit because your quarterback that's been playing so well all year round didn't play last night, so you had to rotate quarterbacks a little bit there. And getting guys step up, and especially at that key position, had to be huge for your guys. And then once things got rolling in the second half, that had to be a confidence booster for the whole team that, hey, if we play this way, no matter who's playing back there, and we play as a team, then we can get these kind of wins. And the idea that getting that win last night against Loy Norris is big because that's a division win. You've had a couple of division wins already, and this division is up for grabs for anyone who wants to go take it. And you have that chance now with getting those couple of division wins halfway through the season.
Yeah, it kind of puts us in the driver's seat in terms of the division. You know, obviously, any team would tell you that one of your goals is to win your division, win your league, whatever you want to call it, and then of course make the playoffs. And so we've talked a little bit about that stuff, obviously early season when we talk about goals and that kind of thing, but we really don't talk about it very much throughout the year. I'm not sure that our kids would even be aware of what the division race is right now. You know, because I know it's cliche, but we really try to just take it 1 week at a time and just focus on what our next opponent is. We're not in a premier position where we can start thinking so far ahead into the future. We've had our struggles, and we need to focus on what we're doing next, and that's what's most important. So right now it's just, all right, great, we got a great win. We're going to enjoy it today, but our focus just has to be on Gull Lake and what we got to do to win that game, and that's it. We really aren't even thinking about much. We haven't even talked about, really, the division race or anything like that. Maybe later on in the season, when it gets closer to being over, we'll talk about that as a team. But you know, as coaches, obviously, we look out, you know, for what we think is the forecast, and winning against Loy Norris obviously puts us in the driver's seat a little bit for the division, which we can appreciate and we get motivated by, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, if it's working, let's not tell the kids about the division race, but the fans out there, the Bearcat fans, can get excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with wins over Lakeview and Loy Norris, put you 2-0 in the division. Gull Lake is another division opponent coming up. You're going to Gull Lake next week. A win there against a Gull Lake team that's a winless, and that sets up a huge game down the road against Kalamazoo Central. And we don't get too far ahead of ourselves, but like you said, you guys should be credited with putting yourselves in this position and and then you can enjoy that as it comes. And then if it all comes together, great. You have a division title in your hands. But another win also puts you a little bit closer to the playoffs, and that's a big goal for these guys. I know that's a huge goal for the players. Even if they don't know about the division, they know that they want to make the playoffs, and getting a big win that way is big. And talk about continuing that momentum and going to Gull Lake and making sure you ride that momentum in a big, important game there.
Yeah, that's our big thing, as you said, is playoffs. We know every win brings us a little bit closer to that, and that's every kid's high school football dream, is seeing their name on the screen on that Sunday selection show. And so, obviously great opportunity that because Gull Lake hasn't won, it's a great opportunity for us to fix a lot of the things that have kind of gotten in the way of us producing consistency offensively and defensively. But they're going to give us their best shot like everybody does. When we've had the struggles that we've had, every team looks at that game on their schedule and says, oh, there's a chance for us to get a win right there. So they're going to be fired up and they're going to play hard. They always do. And even some of the worst teams that they've had have taken us right down to the wire. And so we can't take anything for granted. We have to treat them like they're undefeated and really focus on doing everything right in order to win the game. And that's got to be our focus even long-term, because it really doesn't matter who our opponent is. What matters is how often we're executing the things that we need to execute to be great.
Be a big game on the road for the Bearcats playing at Gull Lake. Another SMAC East Division game. Chance for Battle Creek Central to get another win next week. And a chance for us to talk about another victory next week when we come back Saturday, if that all comes together. Thanks a lot, Coach, for coming in this morning. And we'll be back with our next Coach of the Morning here on WBCK 95.3 FM after this.
Coach's Corner on 95.3 WBCK. Proudly brought to you by Lakeview Ford, where community matters. Here's Coach's Corner.
This is Bill Broderick, sports editor of the Battle Creek Enquirer, back with our next Coach of the Morning, Coach Mason Converse of the victorious Harbor Creek Beavers. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Bill. How are you this morning?
We're doing great. Harbor Creek had a state-ranked team coming into town last night. Grand Rapids Kennewa Hills with their number 6 ranked team in Division III, undefeated, and a team that also had you guys lost to last year, so they had to have all the confidence in the world. And Harbor Creek took that, and they came away with a 37-15 win. And the thing that comes away for a lot of people chatting with them last night, the coaches and the players figured they had a shot at a win. Not a lot of people thought they had to be totally confident that you had to win, but they still had a shot at a win. But I'm not sure too many people thought you'd get a double-digit victory no matter what. So getting a win like that, 37-15 against a team that is very good from up north in the Grand Rapids area. Talk about what you experienced in the last 8 to 10 hours after wrapping your head around that victory.
So we absolutely expected to win, and we had a great week of practice, and our kids were locked in all week. We felt like we let one slip away last year, and Harper Creek is a historically great program, really, and Kennewa Hills is on the rise. These last couple of years, they put some good seasons together, but they don't have the history that we do, and we really talked about that a lot all week, and really since last year, because we made mistakes up there last year and let them get a victory that we thought we should have had, and they outplayed us last year, and we didn't want to make that same mistake again this year, and so our kids were really confident going into the game. Now, did we see a double-digit win coming? Absolutely not, because they're a terrific team. I mean, they've been putting up points on everybody, and it was just a couple of weeks ago their quarterback threw for over 400 yards. So I think things started to snowball late in the first half. We saw how powerful they are right at the beginning of the game. They went down the field. We had them 4th and 10, and they hit us over the top for a touchdown. So we knew we were in for a heavyweight bout. And I'll give our offense credit. We went right back down the field and scored, and we talked about being aggressive all night and playing to win versus playing not to lose. And we came right back down the field and answered their score with a score of our own. They jumped off sides on the extra point, so we, again, with keeping the aggressive theme in mind, we went for 2, and they stopped us. But hey, it was 7-6 at that point, or 6-7 at that point, and we kicked off to them, and it's a game, and it was back and forth from there.
And you and I talked about this being the kind of games that you wanted to add to your schedule, the kind of teams you wanted to add to your schedule to help you down the road. You wanted to play some teams from outside the area that you don't see every year. It does a couple of things. It gives you a chance to see some better teams and also gives you a chance to get some excitement around the program and give these kids, they're not playing the same teams every year. So they're playing teams from up north in Grand Rapids and the reputation that comes with that. And it can be a measuring stick game for you. And that's kind of what it was last night for Harper Creek, and that's what you want it to be. Is that correct?
Without a doubt. We went north in week 2 to Cedar Springs, which is a long road trip. And you and I talked about that then as well. And again, nothing against teams in our areas. We play teams in our area all the time, so there's a comfort level with that. And so we're trying to put our young men in spots where they're going to be a little bit in uncomfortable situations and have to perform in different environments and get them prepared for playoff football. Because those teams week in and week out up in the Grand Rapids area, they have to compete like it's playoff football every week if they want to make the playoffs. And if we want to make deep playoff runs, which we haven't done in recent years, we've got to compete like that week in and week out and prepare ourselves for that. And so we've really taken the approach of how do we get better each week and how do we prepare ourselves. So we went into this game right here. We got beat at Cedar Springs a couple weeks ago, made some mistakes, and looked back at it and said, hey, it doesn't affect us for the league championship race. Maybe affects the playoff seed or two, but we want to focus on what did we not do well, what do we need to do to get better, and we've been working on that now for several weeks, and it showed up last night. The boys played, they had confidence, knowing that Cedar Springs and Kennewa are in the same league. We felt like, we did some things to put ourselves in a bad spot when we got beat by Cedar Springs, so that was part of us having confidence against Kennewa Hills. And, our secondary defensively, DJ Wood, Tegan Turnbull, Brock Hibbs, Levi Carr, they were confusing Kennewa's quarterback and receivers all night. They were disguising coverages. They had a near interception early in the first half, and then they did get an interception late in the first half to help us get that last field goal. They were just tremendous all night. And our linebacking crew of Josh Bodie, Gavin Rice, Antoine Westry, and Cam Converse, they really set the tone with controlling the run. I mean, to hold London Hampton, who's a Division I prospect, to hold him to 36 yards rushing is quite a feat, and I couldn't be more proud of those guys.
And on offense, you had to, right away you talked about you had to match them early and make sure that you guys stay in the game early to keep that confidence going. And they had a big defensive front. They had some big boys on there, and they also looked like they wanted to make sure you stop the run. The strategy against Harper Creek a lot of the time is, hey, if we can stop the run, then we can get Harper Creek behind the sticks. And they tried to do that early, but you had an answer for that. You decided to throw the ball a little bit. You've done that the last couple of weeks, and it's worked. And a big touchdown early really showed that that was going to be one of your answers against Kennewa Hills. Maddox McCarty floated out a long pass to the sidelines to Dylan Eversole, who had a nice fingertip catch, ran in for 54 yards for a touchdown, and had you guys right in the game. And talk about that catch and run and how important that was to set the tone for the rest of the game.
Well, I think, just again, it shows how we were playing aggressive last night, and we were playing to win. We weren't going to hold anything back, and Dylan really had we've known Dylan's a terrific receiver. I think everybody else got to see how great of a receiver Dylan Eversole is last night. He had over 100 yards receiving. Maddox McCarty was absolutely throwing dimes last night, and those two connected for the majority of our passing yards. But he also hit Gavin Rice out of the backfield twice for 2 touchdowns, and Kennewa was committed to doing everything they could to take away the run. Now, in saying that, we still rushed for over 200 yards. So we bring guys in waves, running backs in waves, and we just wear teams down throughout the course of the game. And we didn't have a running back have more than 45 yards rushing, but we had over 212 yards rushing total. So as the game went on, our offensive line and our big backs that just hammer you time after time, that wore on them. And but again, because they were committing so many guys to inside the box and slowing down the run, it opened up things in the flats. And we even had a big touchdown pass that Dylan called back on a holding too. We got the ball back late in the first half and went a stutter and go, and Dylan caught a touchdown, and we had a holding and brought it back. And we still ended up scoring later in the drive, but we left some yards off the board because of some untimely penalties as well too. So really proud of those guys. And our offensive line continues to prove the haters wrong. I mean, Logan Converse, Sean Johnson, Ty Schmidt, Cohen Deskins, Aiden Wynn, Ian Yancer, and Antoine Westry. They are coming off low and driving guys and making holes for our backs to run through. They're giving Maddox time to throw. And our tight ends, Logan and Antoine, they are not getting targeted as much as they would like to. But they are buying into the team and the team winning. And that is one of the most important things for teams that are successful is guys know their part and they're willing to do it for the team to be successful. So I'm super proud of our tight ends and the role they're playing.
That offensive line had a lot to do with your long drives that you had and the time-consuming drives that you had. And a lot of those were kept going with third down and shorts or fourth down and shorts that you guys went for it and moved the chains and you dominated the time of possession and you dominated a number of snaps on your side of the ball, and that kept you guys scoring, but also kept them off the field and not keeping up with you. And that was part of the game plan going in. Is that right?
It was. We didn't want to. We weren't trying to just run the ball and run the clock out, but we definitely wanted to eliminate possessions. And if you would have told me that we were going to hold them to 6 possessions and 27 total plays going into the game, I would have said, that's a recipe for success right there. And we kept the ball away from them. We were like 65% on our third down conversions, and but we were 100% on our fourth down conversions. We were 4 of 4 on fourth down, so we didn't have to punt last night. Just overall, our offensive coordinator with Ken Horton and the boys, they executed the game plan really about as perfect as you could. We held them to 147 yards of total offense. So going back to the defensive side, Derek Stansberry and the defensive crew, I mean, what a game plan. And I think I mentioned earlier, but it was just a couple weeks ago that their quarterback threw for over 400 yards. So to hold this team, the number 6 team in the state, to 147 yards of total offense, that's pretty special. And we got the nice timely special teams. We forced them to shank a punt at the end of the first half, and went back down the field and scored. And then we were able to get one more. I think that was the interception right at the end of the first half that we drove down the field and kicked a 38-yard field goal to put us up 38-7. And we don't mention our special teams guys enough, but guys like Alex LaFleur, who's our kicker, who really on kickoff last night, they were dangerous, and he put the ball exactly where he needed to put it every single time. And then we've got Tanner Alderson, who's our holder on all of our extra points and our field goals, and he's getting the ball down. Again, that's another guy that he's embraced his role and what he means to this team and how important he is, and he's going out there super excited and telling me we're not going to take the playoff. We're going to nail this one through the uprights. I mean, those are the kinds of things that you look back on teams and seasons and you're like, that's the reason why we're getting things done the way we are. And really proud of Tanner and really proud of Alex for embracing their roles and making us a success. That's
a big win to enjoy all this weekend. Then come Monday, you got to get ready for the next round in league play. You go back into Interstate Conference play, and next week you're going to host Parma Western for homecoming. And a couple big weeks coming up in I-8. You guys are the defending champs in the I-8, and I know that's a big goal for yours to defend that championship. And a couple of traditionally big games for you in terms of that race the last few years has been to get over the hump when you've played Parma Western and then Hastings after that, and you have that back-to-back. And Parma Western is first up next week. And what have you seen from them this year and in terms of what you want to attack and how you want to go about playing them?
Well, Parma's a team that the last 10 years they've made the playoffs every year, and they've been one team that we've had a target and a circle on them as we've been trying to get better over the past few years. And we did finally get over the hump last year, but that was at their homecoming that we beat them and really kind of locked up a share of the conference title. And we know that they will want some payback for that. So this week coming up after a big win, homecoming. There's a lot of distractions that come with homecoming. It's a classic trap game, and we talked all the last couple of weeks that this kind of a game meant nothing for the league race, and now that we've won it, it still means nothing for the league race. So if we go out and don't take care of business next week, we put ourselves in a tough spot for the league, because Hastings is sitting at 2-0, and Coldwater's sitting at 2-1. And so if we were to let one slip away, now we've got to beat Hastings in order to get into a tie, and that would be like a 3-way tie for the league. And we don't want to share the league title. We want to win it outright. So we have to keep taking care of what we can do week in and week out, and it starts this next week with making sure we don't look past Parma, because they'll be ready to play.
Department Western has always had some big teams coming in, and you guys will have the exciting game next week, a homecoming game. It'll be a big crowd at Ed Greenman Athletic Complex next week. It'll be the Beavers taking on Parma Western with a chance to stay on top in the Interstate 8 Conference. Thanks a lot, Coach, for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Bill. Talk to you next week.
We'll be back next week with Coach's Corner next Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Thanks for listening. This has been Coach's Corner on WBCK 95.3 FM.